This is a queen ant. Release her into the simulated sandbox. Give her 1,000 days. Build her own ant empire from scratch. But she has rivals that will launch invasion attacks at any time. So during the first few days, the queen ant has to build a nest to raise her very first batch of offspring. The outside world is extremely dangerous, so she produces worker ants to build the kingdom for her. But at this moment black ant scouts sneak into this territory, but you ruthlessly swat them away. After all, this world is still in its protection period. The worker ants start building fortresses at the nest entrance, but an army is still needed before the war begins. As the god, you drop a batch of provisions. Soon worker ants come to gather the seeds, carry the food underground and store it. They turn the seeds into ant bread. It is the perfect food for the growing larvae. 70 days have passed. The population has grown significantly, but the newborn ants are still very weak. The main problem is a lack of sugar. As the god, you give them another plate of honey, but they don't seem to recognize this food until the black ants discover the honey. Soon the black ant army launches an invasion, but the red ants are still in their developmental stage. As the god, you have to step in again. Clear out the black ants one by one. After this battle, this territory suffers heavy losses, but they still need sugar to survive. This time they carefully absorb the nutrients, and after eating they cover the honey back up. Protecting the honey means protecting the queen ant. As long as the queen ant is alive, the colony has unlimited potential. And just like that, day 600 arrives. The ant colony gradually thrives and expands. Now it's time to test their combat strength. There are 100 fruit flies here. The ants slowly learn combat techniques, and the black ants finish their invasion preparations. It doesn't take long for all-out war to break out. The black ants quickly break into the nest interior. The queen ant's safety is under threat. The other red ants have to take her and flee. To keep the queen ant safe, the soldiers sacrifice themselves. But the black ant's ambition doesn't end there. Watching all her hard work about to be destroyed, the queen ant orders the soldiers to launch a counterattack. So the red ants break through the ground, charge straight at the black ants, finally successfully defend their home. If you were given a chance to play God, what would you do? This time we use an aquarium to simulate a forest ecosystem. Spend 100 days creating a whole new world. On day 1, you first place soil at the bottom of the aquarium. Add logs and some animal bones. As time passes, new life will emerge from them. It only took 5 days for vegetation to cover the entire wilderness, and this world welcomed its first native inhabitants. These snails feast on fresh shoots, but soon plant consumption exceeded your expectations. It turned out to be the earthworms underground. They burrowed everywhere, damaging the plant roots. To control the earthworm population, you urgently introduced a new species. These are oriental worm snakes. They are the natural predators of earthworms. At the same time, a large number of mushrooms popped up on that log. In just 2.5 days they became extremely dense. The appearance of mushrooms enriched the snail's menu. They all moved to the log to enjoy the feast, and inside the log, there was an entire ant empire. The queen ant was raising the first batch of ant larvae. Once they hatch, they will build the most powerful ant empire. By day 21, competition between species became fierce. As soon as the salmon mother laid a batch of eggs, they were already targeted by other predators. The crickets had been eyeing her babies for a long time. They lacked natural predators to keep them in check, so they became completely unrestrained. So you as God urgently introduced 2 jumping spiders. They were a pair. Although crickets have extremely sharp eyesight, jumping spiders are highly venomous. A single bite is enough to paralyze their prey. 50 days have passed. There was also a territorial battle going on between plants. You realized you needed more herbivores to maintain balance, so you introduced a new creature, the millipede. As soon as they arrived, they burrowed into the undergrowth and got to work. And the jumping spiders had already built nests with silk threads. It turned out they had babies. To protect her offspring, she refused to be observed. At the same time, the salmon eggs had fully hatched. The baby salmon were quite cute. You as God decided to make it rain, to celebrate the birth of new life. All the animals savored the sweetness of the rainwater. Even the flowers bloomed after the heavy downpour, exuding the rainforest scent. However, the jumping spiders were not happy at all. The rise of the ant empire had stolen too much of their food, and you couldn't bear to see the jumping spiders sad. So you put a wood scorpion into the ecosystem aquarium. But one strayed into the jumping spider's territory. Since the wood scorpion remained completely motionless, the jumping spider eventually gave up on trying to prey on it. But at night, the wood scorpion would come out to feed with its glowing exoskeleton. By day 90, you simulated a dry season. The ground turned parched, causing some signs of life to fade away. So you removed some of the animals in advance, because on day 94, a thunderstorm was about to descend on the arid land, triggering a massive wildfire. It spread rapidly throughout the entire aquarium, until everything turned to ashes. Yet new life will emerge from the ashes. Just as all things in nature go through cycles, just like our own ecosystem, it continues to evolve in an endless cycle. You are given a chance to play as God. What would you do? This time we use an ecosphere to simulate a wasteland world. It starts with a meteorite falling. The meteorite leaves a big crater on the ground. All traces of human existence are completely erased, and a new era in the tank officially begins. Heavy rain fills the crater into a small lake. Various substances settle here, laying the groundwork for future biological mutations. On the 3rd day, the tank seems completely lifeless, but a closer look reveals tiny algae and decomposed organic matter. They form the bottom foundation of the food chain. By the 5th day, the water finally gradually clears up. You spot signs of ostracot activity as well as some copepods. Both of them play a role in maintaining improving water quality. At this point humus worms start growing at the bottom of the water. They are dancing, and in the process, they can filter suspended particles and organic matter. Shortly after a bloodworm appears. This thing is the larval form of a chironomid midge. These mosquitoes cannot suck blood because their mouthparts have degenerated. At this point predators also start appearing in this world. This is a flatworm. It feeds on microorganisms. It is a unicellular organism. It only needs to wiggle in the water to get oxygen. By the 12th day, fungi begin to take over the land, and those buildings have all become breeding grounds for maggots. In such a harsh environment, it is hard for a new ecosystem to establish itself. So you bring in a brand new creature, the springtail. They feed on fungi and humus, and can convert them into nutrients beneficial to the soil. In just a few days, they improve the surface ecological environment by several levels. The first batch of mosses and plants thus get a soil environment where they can survive. They quickly cover most of the ground surface. Even the lake surface has traces of duckweed. Before long you discover another new species, the woodlouse. Like springtails, they are detritivores, so they also join in the work of improving the soil environment. The ecology of this land slowly gets a breather. On the 34th day, you notice some small dots on the soil, and next to them are caves so deep they seem to lead straight to the ground. It doesn't take long before you get to see their true identity. This is a yellow-spotted millipede. Although they are herbivores, they can secrete chemical venom. It's better not to disturb them if there's no need. As for those dots, they are all its feces. As the feces decompose, they release several nutrients into the soil, making them the ultimate natural fertilizer. With the improvement of the environment, new species also start emerging. Like this snail, it becomes the exclusive ride for springtails. Meanwhile, among the bushes, you also spot a black beetle and dubia roaches camouflaged as soil. This world seems to be in a stage of recovery. By the 55th day, aquatic plants have almost taken over the tank, but at this point they encounter an opponent. Algae cover large areas in just a few days, competing for sunlight and nutrients. Fortunately, as God, you send in the algae killers. These freshwater snails vary in size, but they all love to eat algae. But the real experts are definitely the amano shrimp. This is a social creature. Their transparent green bodies make them hard to spot. Even if they are targeted, they can rely on the sudden burst of their tail muscles to escape the scene. Moreover, they also have the ability to regenerate lost limbs. With the addition of these creatures, the underwater ecology is now close to balance, and the vegetation on land is becoming more and more dense. And lurking among these bushes is a giant beast. Can you find where it is? That's right, this is a small freshwater crab named Xiao Huang. Xiao Huang wanders around the factory ruins looking quite lonely, until a black beetle takes the initiative to extend a friendship offer. But the new friend tastes quite good. Crabs are omnivores. After eating its fill, it chooses to continue exploring the factory ruins. Time comes to the 72nd day. Some strange phenomena occur in the world. There are such wood chip structures hanging in the factory. Eerie sounds come from behind the deep underground doors of the warehouse. Until the next morning, it turns out all of this is because of this rainforest scorpion. Last night it fought with the yellow-spotted millipede underground, then forcefully occupied this cave. The millipede has no choice but to leave, but Xiao Huang curiously comes to this area. It aggressively burrows deep into the cave. This is a battle between those with claws. They start arm wrestling as soon as they meet. After some probing, the rainforest scorpion voluntarily gives up the territory and leaves, and Xiao Huang happily takes over this cave. A few days later you see Xiao Huang going out to forage again. At this point you notice that its body has undergone a mutation. It turns out it is already pregnant. Everything it does is to give its children a home, and underwater a species is also secretly developing. This is its shed exoskeleton, which is being eaten by small shrimps, but the owner is nowhere to be seen. After all, its new shell is still very soft, so it will hide in the cave to get through the vulnerable period. Remember those ootheca hanging on the factory ruins earlier? They are now starting to hatch one by one. Xiao Huang, who lives underground in the factory, has already heard the news and arrived. It wants to stock up on some nutrients for its unborn children, but those baby bugs have already escaped. Xiao Huang returns to the cave empty-handed. Not long ago it also completed molting. These nutrients cannot be wasted. Let's check how that underwater overlord is doing now. It turns out this is a small white crayfish. It looks like Xiaobai has recovered well, and is looking for food at the bottom of the water. This time Xiaobai finds a snail, but it cannot break through the snail's shell, and other small shrimps hide directly in the aquatic plants as soon as they see it. It seems Xiaobai has no choice but to eat some seaweed. On land, the mother of those baby bugs also returns to their side. It turns out to be a Chinese flower mantis. It has colorful wings and can fly freely. Most importantly, its nervous system is extremely developed. In the blink of an eye, the dubia roach is killed alone. If the prey tries to escape, it will use its spiky claws to hook them tightly. Nature is just that cruel. This time the mantis sets its sights on Xiao Huang, who has come out for a walk, but it cannot pierce through Xiao Huang's armor at all, so it has to give up. A few days later the mantis creates another ootheca. It secretes a foamy substance from a special gland at the tip. As soon as this substance comes into contact with air, it quickly hardens to form a protective shell. This is its weakest moment. This spawning has exhausted all its energy. At this point it is already extremely hungry. In this extreme situation, it turns its gaze to the baby mantises. Soon this child is eaten by the mother, but it sets its sights on the next target, scaring the baby mantises into quickly running away along the branches. It climbs up along the ruins of the building, successfully reuniting with its brothers and sisters. But don't forget, the mother is also a master climber. Shortly after it catches hatches another baby mantis, but it does this only to allow more offspring to survive and reproduce. Over a period of 100 days, we have witnessed various species striving for their survival and reproduction. New life is constantly emerging, just like this little snail, which has just embarked on its adventure in the world. Your God Experience card is about to expire. See you next time.